the inflammatory pain itself feels like your body's on fire. It actually feels like fire. It's a really burning, intense, horrible kind of pain.
Intense burning pain in almost every joint. That is how Catherine Hofstetter describes how rheumatoid arthritis makes her feel. She was first diagnosed 20 years ago. It's hard to tell she suffers from chronic pain, but if you look at her hands, you can see the damage. As the president of the family business her father founded in 1948, she has a busy work life. She needs medication to work. And for Catherine, the essential drugs are biologics.
Without these medications, I wouldn't be active at all. I can't even imagine where my life would be. I wouldn't have a roof over my head. I wouldn't be able to put food on my table because I don't have disability insurance either. So I have to work.
Sanofi Pasteur is one of the world's largest manufacturers of biological vaccines. Biologics are made from living microorganisms instead of chemicals, and the development of new biologics is a far more complex process than synthetic drugs. Today, they are being prescribed for everything from arthritis to multiple sclerosis to cancer. Biologics can be very effective and make a big difference in a patient's quality of life, but they can also be very costly. The drug landscape is changing. Dr. Claire Bombardier carefully scans the X-rays of a patient's hands, looking for signs of damage. She's a rheumatologist at a Toronto hospital, a professor of medicine and rheumatology at the University of Toronto, and a respected researcher worldwide. Several years ago, she began the Ontario Biologic Research Initiative that tracks RA patients who use biologics and evaluates drug safety and efficacy.
Yes, they are expensive drugs, and we're very aware of that, and we want to use them in a very responsible way. They are very efficacious. We still recommend in our guidelines that we should start with the less expensive drugs, because a large proportion of patients will respond to these. So it's only those that don't have a response that will be started on a biologic. But that's about 50%.
In his clinical practice at St. Michael's Hospital, Dr. Michael Evans has treated many patients with biologics. He's a family physician and an associate professor at the University of Toronto. He also sat on the Canadian Expert Drug Advisory Committee.
Biologics are a fascinating story. So we're talking about medications that can, often outstrip what people earn in a year, kind of thing. And so I sort of look at that and I recoil a bit, and then I've got quite a few patients that, I saw a guy the other day who has something called ankylosing spondylitis, which is a type of arthritis, and he's now on the biologics and able to pick up his kids, and, huge change in his quality of life.
Claude Destasio has watched drug costs spiral upwards over the last 20 years. She is the Vice President of Quebec Affairs for the CLHIA, the Canadian Life and Health Insurance Association. It's the non-profit trade association that represents life and health insurers.
In the recent years, there's some drugs that came on the market at a cost of $500,000, $600,000, even $1.2 million per year, per person. We've seen drugs, the thing with these new drugs at a high cost is that they are recurring cost. People will take them, will feel better, will live better life for 10, 15 years. So when you add that up, that's humongous.
And the reality is we only have so much money. So there's this term called cost effectiveness, and this is a term you're going to hear more and more, that we'd love to pay for everything. We'd love to pay for that, $100,000 a year drug. We'd love to pay for that new machine. But the reality is we just don't have enough money.
Catherine will soon start taking a new biologic called Humira. That one prescription will cost $14,000 per year. She doesn't have insurance, so to afford her medication, she prepared a business case asking the Ontario government to cover the cost. Catherine won her case. $14,000 seems like a bargain compared to the cost of many biologics, and for Catherine, it's the cost of doing business.
If I can't make this work, then I'm out of business, the company is gone, and all those men are out of work. So they're really relying on me to make a go of this, and I need the medication to do that.
Rheumatoid arthritis is not the biggest killer of all the diseases. There are other diseases that win the prize for that. Rheumatoid arthritis is a disease that disables people. People keep living, but they're disabled. And that is where the cost is.
In an aging population, chronic conditions like arthritis already affect 2 out of every 5 Canadians, and the numbers are growing. In many cases, to continue working and manage chronic disease, we need medications. But who will pay for these expensive drugs? Can benefit plans sustain these big costs? And how does a small business brace itself for the coming storm?
The storm's going to get worse. And it's interesting when you look at the cost to government for a whole bunch of things, so educational programs, for example, or just infrastructure, it's pretty flat-lined. When you actually look at health, it's going up and up and up.
One thing that the Canadian Life and Health Insurance Association has done recently is introduced a scheme, a pooling protection that does exactly that. It provides assistance for high-cost claims, for catastrophic claims, in order for the Canadians to maintain their plans.
They have to figure out how this can work. The insurance companies just can't abandon all of the biologic drugs. It's not just arthritis that has them. MS uses them as well, and there are other diseases like cancer that use biologic drugs. So they can't just drop them. That's impossible.
Hi there, how are you? Did you have a chance to rework that price?
Just like, if you're running a small business, you have to kind of think, well, geez, I'd love to spend money on all these things, but this is what is most important to me. And so, I've sat on a lot of those committees and deciding what medications to cover. And, it's tough. Do you spend $100,000 on that medication, or do you spend it on a smoking cessation program or an activity thing for kids? And I think that's where we're at, where we have to make some tough decisions.
I'm positive that we'll work out some solution, but the storm is coming, so we have to get ready.